$3,900,000,000 attached to one name. Aditya Bose, 28 years old, the son of a construction worker from Mumbai. Crown Merchant Bank had existed for more than 230 years when he walked into its Singapore office. It ceased to exist the morning he walked out. He was not the man London feared. He was the man London trusted most. On a Thursday morning in February 1995, a hotel room in Singapore held one piece of paper on the desk. 2 words, no name on it. The bank was already gone. His father laid bricks in Mumbai for 30 years. Same sight, same hands, same silence at dinner. Aditya watched from across the table and did not feel resentment. What he felt was something quieter. The specific understanding of a person who can see exactly where the road leads if nothing changes, and who has decided that road is not acceptable. No Oxford, no family name that opened doors before a handshake. What he had was numbers. The way some people hear music before it is played, Aditya heard patterns in market data before they formed. He taught himself in the evenings, alone in a small flat in Mumbai, after a day's work at a brokerage that did not yet know what it had hired. Crown Merchant Bank was 233 years old when it offered him a desk in Singapore. Arbitrage between futures markets. Low risk by design. Precise in execution. The kind of work that rewarded exactly what Aditya had spent years teaching himself to do. In his first year, the results were better than the desk had projected. London called. A director said his name in a sentence that also contained the words, "best analyst" on the floor. Aditya held that sentence for a long time after the call ended. Not because of what it meant for his career, because of what it meant about who he was. The boy from Mumbai whose father laid bricks had been called by London. And London did not call people from that address, not until now. And from that morning, everything he did at that desk was about staying the person London had called. The first loss was small. A position that moved wrong by an amount any desk would absorb, document, and forget inside a week. The rational decision was clear to anyone looking from outside. Aditya was not looking from outside. Account 8888 was a standard error account used to hold mistaken transactions while they were being corrected. What Aditya used it for was different. The loss went in. He told himself it was temporary, not a calculated decision, not a crime he was planning. Just a person who could not locate the version of himself that walked into the director's office and said he had been wrong. The account grew slowly, the way damage grows when no one is looking at it. Each new position was meant to close the gap. Each attempt made the gap wider. And because Aditya ran both the trading desk and the back office in Singapore, the account remained invisible to London. The person checking the books was the person making the trades. London sent an auditor in the second year. 3 days, standard review. Aditya answered every question in the same voice he used on the trading floor. Steady, specific, correct. The auditor filed a clean report. That night, Aditya opened a position 3 times larger than any he had placed before. Because surviving the audit felt like the ground was still solid. One evening, his wife asked if he wanted to go back to a restaurant from their first week in Singapore. A simple question. The screen in front of him holds the number. It does not blink. He said yes without looking up. She stood at the door for a moment. Then she walked away. He did not turn around. He did not ask himself why he had not turned around, because he already knew the answer. Turning around meant being in the same room as something he was not ready to be in the same room with. By the end of 1994, the losses could no longer be covered by any trade he could realistically place. Every attempt to close the gap created new exposure. And still, Aditya did not stop. Not because he believed the market would eventually save him, but because stopping meant standing in front of London as the construction worker's son from Mumbai who had never actually belonged at that desk. That was the thing he could not do. Not the loss. The admission. On the 17th of January 1995, an earthquake struck Kobe. The Nikkei fell. Aditya put everything remaining on a recovery. Not analysis, not strategy. Just the need for one more day in which the number had not yet become final. The market did not recover. His wife noticed first, not from numbers, from breakfast. For 3 years in Singapore, they had eaten together before the market opened. Then, one week the chair across from her was empty, 3 mornings in a row. She did not ask about trading. She asked if he was sleeping. That question was so ordinary it was almost unbearable. Aditya said yes. She looked at him the way a person looks at something they have been watching for a while and have finally decided to name. The cup of chai on the counter had gone cold. She picked it up without drinking from it. And the silence that followed was the moment Aditya understood how visible he had become. Not to anyone outside. To her. She had been watching the distance grow for months. She had been waiting for him to speak first. He did not speak first. He went to the office. Crown Merchant Bank discovered account 8888 in February 1995. The number inside was $3,900,000,000. Not Aditya's money. The bank's money. The money of people and institutions who had trusted a name that had stood for 233 years. The bank could not absorb it. It could not be rescued. One of the oldest financial institutions in the world closed because one person could not say he had made a mistake. On the Thursday morning that Crown Merchant Bank stopped existing, Aditya did not go home. He did not call his wife. He went to a hotel near the airport and sat at the small desk by the window. Outside, Singapore continued. He picked up a pen. He wrote 2 words on a sheet of paper. He could not write a name after them. Not because there was no one. Because he had spent 3 years being a version of himself that was not the version those names knew. And he did not know how to be anyone else. His wife found out the way the rest of the world did. The newspaper arrived at the kitchen table the next morning. A photograph of Aditya at an airport in Germany. She looked at the photograph for a long time. The chair across from her had been empty for longer than she had admitted to herself. I asked Aditya one question. If you could go back to the morning you opened account 8888, would you do it differently? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said,
I knew exactly what I was doing. I opened that account with complete clarity because the alternative was walking into a room and saying I'd been wrong. And a person who gets called by London does not make that kind of mistake. So the account was not about hiding money. It was about hiding the version of myself that had made a mistake, because that version could not exist at the same desk as the person London had called.
I asked him, what has trading been protecting in you that nothing else was able to protect? He said,
It was not trading. It was the desk. The physical desk in Singapore. Every morning I sat at that desk, I was not the boy from Mumbai whose father laid bricks. I was someone London had chosen, and every position I placed, even the ones I knew were wrong, was me trying to stay seated at that desk for one more day. Because the moment I stood up and said what had happened, that person ceased to exist, and I did not know who was underneath.
Then I asked him, if there is someone right now who is hiding the first loss, telling themselves it is temporary, that next week will be different, what would you say to them about what is actually happening? He looked at the window. He said,
You are not hiding a trade. You are hiding the distance between who you are and who you told someone you were. And the longer you hide it, the larger that distance becomes. Until one morning, you are sitting at a desk in a hotel room and you cannot write a single name on a piece of paper. Not because there is no one, because you no longer know who you are to any of them.
The legal process ran through most of 1995. Aditya Bose served 4.5 years in Changi Prison. The marriage ended before the sentencing. His wife had already left Singapore. She asked him once, through a lawyer, whether he had meant to tell her. Not about the money, about what he had been carrying. He had meant to tell her every evening at that table, and every evening the ordinary conversation was easier than the truth. And then one morning, there was a photograph in a newspaper, and the table was empty, and the conversation never happened. Crown Merchant Bank closed in the spring of 1995. The building in Singapore still stands. Aditya Bose lives in Mumbai. He does not work in finance. If you have been sitting across from someone at a table and waiting for the right moment to say something true, send them this story before the newspaper arrives first. Subscribe to Wealth Paradox Global because the next story will not wait for the right moment either. Like this video if you have ever chosen the ordinary conversation over the one that mattered. And leave a comment. One word is enough. The building still stands. Another name is above the door. Inside, someone who has never heard of Aditya Bose sits at a desk. The work continues. And I am Maya 5 Wealth, the host of Wealth Paradox Global.